So on my channel, from time to time, I look back at phones that were a little bit older and are forgotten easily. One of the brands that is easily forgotten is OnePlus, and I don't get why. I already said it with my OnePlus 10T review. It's an excellent phone, but simply overlooked. The same goes for the OnePlus 10 Pro. And yes, one of those things is the design itself. Where the camera part is a bit questionable, man, that green color, I cannot deny the beauty of that. And just overall, the phone. Let's talk about that one. How is it held up and how is it these days? Because I definitely enjoyed the phone when I got it. But how's it now?
The OnePlus 10 Pro, a phone that was already budget before it came out. And compared to phones that cost a lot more to get it. But let's put that aside. Let's look at it from a fresh new light and talk about how it held up and look at updates that we may or may not have received. Let's begin with a little rundown of the specs though. It comes with the hot Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, a 5000 mAh battery that can be charged at 80 watt, which is by the way included, a 6.7 inch AMOLED panel with a max brightness of 1300 nits and of course HDR10 Plus with a max resolution of 1440 by 3216. For my version I have 256GB of UFS 3.1 memory and 12GB of RAM. For the camera, of course, we have this Hasselblad integration for it, with the main sensor being the 48 megapixel sensor, a 50 megapixel ultra wide and an 8 megapixel telephoto with a 3.3 times zoom, and for the front facing camera it's a 32 megapixel sensor. And no surprise, but sadly no 3.5mm headphone jack support nor micro SD support. And yes, that's not a good thing, and these things should be a standard feature on your phone. But first, let's continue talking about software. With the OnePlus 10 Pro, the current version that I have, which is the case in the Netherlands, so it could be different from you, is Oxygen OS 12.1, which has the latest security update from August. This means it isn't close to being the same month with 2 months behind, but that seems decently fine for me. Updates in between counted for some tweaks in terms of the camera and general performance bugs that they found and fixed, but nothing really drastic. But I want to look at it from a wider point of view, a point of buying a phone for a cut down price. At the release it was $899, and in the Netherlands, to be fair, it hasn't dropped that much when you buy it from OnePlus, with it being €799 new. But once I look at second-hand devices that will increase in number, because as I said, the tech world moves fast, you can get it for around €500 on eBay. And for that you get a lot of phone, apart from the basics that I talked about before. So, how is it held up in terms of performance and camera? Well, let's have a general look at the camera performance. To begin with, the main sensor and the ultra-wide have both a pretty large sensor with a good resolution. In general, shots that you make on the OnePlus 10 Pro are good. No, they aren't the best, but again, this was never a phone to be sold anywhere near the price of the others, so let's not make it compete with that. That seems pretty unfair. What I like in general is the profile of the shots, but it still needs some work. It misses out in some depth, and no, I'm not talking about bokeh here. Depth can be perceived in many other ways, and bokeh is just one of them. It's more down to the shadows, the contrast, the general balance of the shot. And with the OnePlus 10 Pro, they can feel a little bit flat here, but granted, a lot of phones have that. It can also be a little bit inconsistent. From time to time, it's just too bright for my liking as well. And then in low light, it is actually pretty capable. Shots are much faster than compared to the OnePlus 9, and in general, it looks well managed. Again, a little bit too bright for my own taste, especially for low light shots, but in general here again, it does a good job. Much better than the S21 Ultra for some reason. Yeah. Anyway, check that video out if you are interested. So when it comes down to that, the OnePlus 10 Pro easily delivers some good results with the camera. You just in some cases might want to take that second shot. And then in general performance, the OnePlus 10 Pro still feels snappy with software experience that I have no issues with. It runs and blazes through everything like you expect for a phone like that. Now, if you push it on 3D Mark, yes, the phone can definitely heat up and stop doing those tests because of that. But that really doesn't come as a surprise, seeing how the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 just has a lot of problems with that heat. Overall though, the performance hasn't been bad, it hasn't decreased, and the phone still holds up really well, depending on what you pay for it, of course. And this is why I say, sometimes you kind of want to look back at phones that have been out for a while, because you can get some great deals from a phone that is a little bit older compared to a phone that has been released like last month. And it's also worth noting that on the OnePlus 10 Pro you actually get the alert slider. This is quite handy to quickly switch between mute, vibrate and of course having the audio on. Quite handy to have. It's a shame that we didn't get it on the OnePlus 10T, but we will get it back on the OnePlus 11. Either way, quite handy to have and of course worth noting when it comes to the phone itself. It's quite a nice feature to have.
So for me, if you are looking for a phone, yes, you do have of course the newer OnePlus 10T, but that one is based on performance. Where the OnePlus 10 Pro has a lot more in the package of balanced performance. So good overall performance, but also better camera setup. That is also down to having of course that Hasselblad branding that they work with, and of course having that mute switch that the 10T doesn't have. But when it comes to the OnePlus 10 Pro, I think it's still an excellent device, especially for the prices that it's selling for now. Heck, even at the beginning, it wasn't selling for the same prices that Samsung was selling theirs, or iPhone, or whatever was selling theirs. This phone was never aimed to be the top dog, but aimed to be the top dog of the high, mid-range, or low top range, if that makes sense. And till this day, I think, yeah, my performance has been excellent. Yes, it misses out on the basics that I find important, the 3.5mm headphone jack, micro SD support, and of course, just some other features that I really like in a phone. But apart from that, I think that the OnePlus 10 Pro is still an excellent phone. And yes, again, this is probably still my favorite color combo. Love it. I really love that. I really love this color combo. Either way, hope you enjoyed this look back on the OnePlus 10 Pro. Let me know what you think about it, and let me know what you just in general think about looking back at all the phones and see how they perform. And I know, I called this one an older phone, even though it was released this year. But still, you know, in the tech world, everything moves really fast, so I'm curious to know what you think about these kind of videos. Looking back at the phone and see how the general performance has been improved, or, on the case of the Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra, decreased. But yeah, let me know what you think about it. And of course, talk to you guys in the next.